What's going on, man?
So yeah, what's up, bro? First off, woo!
It goes both ways.
I like
They
it.
just pulled
Good
it off today
Sunday.
too.
Good Sunday for you, huh?
Yeah, it's a good Sunday. It
All right, all right.
was a good
So,
Sunday.
I've been drinking a lot. About
Love it.
three
I'm
or
just
four,
starting.
about three or four high news. This one today's brought to you by High Noon, and was that cognac?
No, this is
Nice
Howlerhead.
drink.
This is Howlerhead. This is Dana White's banana bourbon.
Dana White, a banana bourbon. Does it have a banana flavor to it?
Yes, it's delicious, bro.
Just like you monkeys drink that
Mix it with a
banana.
little bit of Chambord.
Oh, okay. I'll be on that for Christmas. Yes, sir.
Indeed, you will, young man. Indeed, you will.
Yes, sir. Well, I had a shot of Johnny Walker Gold. I don't know if you had that before.
No, that's a little bit too much. I'm not a big Johnny Walker fan.
Me either, but it's dark and it's liquor.
I am a liquor fan though, so it's a contradiction.
Yeah, yeah. So whatever. I roll with it. And also, I've been drinking these. I don't know if you've seen this before. High
I've had
Noon.
those before.
Okay, so I'm kind of on them now because I was talking to someone at the gym, and he was saying that I should drink these because they're vodka based, which is less calories
It is.
compared to the White Claws, which is still a malt.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and to be honest, these have better flavor, so I might be switching over.
There's another one like Ch- Chico Tapico or Chico something.
Topo Chico.
Yeah, those are good too.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. I do like those, but they only have one flavor. I'm like, what are you guys gonna like? Come on, man, what's up?
It's been a rough morning, man. I've been watching football. You know, I missed my sports book bet this morning. I woke up too late because I was out late drinking,
Oh no, okay,
turning up with some old friends,
there we go. Never
having
mind
some
that.
really interesting conversations, which I'll share some of it as we get into our conversation because we had a great political conversation.
Okay, all right, I like it. Well, today I'm thinking like, okay, we can do 15 minutes on you know Chiefs and Raiders. Give or take 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
We can hop into debate thoughts, and then we can maybe like bullshit on some other things.
Yeah,
So
man. Remember I told you I started looking into Bigfoot?
oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was still going, but yeah, yeah, I do remember you saying that.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's taking me down a long path,
Okay.
very long path. But anyway,
Well, let's start sane first.
let's start sane. Let's start very safe and safe. I mean,
Yeah.
it's only so sane. I mean, we can talk about Travis Kelsey's outfit. Can we start there? Like, what did
All right.
Taylor do to him?
Well, let's okay, fine. Let's start with the Chiefs. Your reigning champions, coming out today. Yeah, yes, I said that. Coming out
The
today.
use the not your. That's
Your This is your president. Okay, I don't care. If you didn't vote for him. But yeah, coming out today, having kind of a stinker of a game against the Bengals, but somehow pulling it out with our kicker uh, at the end, sealing it up for us. Harrison Butker, conservative weirdo. I love him.
yeah, you guys did decent, right? Like I watch bits and pieces of the game. I watch a lot of football now. Watching Red Zone.
Okay,
So I watch like all the games, all the scores, and yeah,
I
decent.
can't do that. I don't know
Pacheco
how you
looked good. I mean, the
check
running
out.
game looked better than I thought it would. From the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't know how you. I'm too wrapped up in the game to be like red zone. I gotta watch the Chiefs. That's it. I don't give a shit about anyone else. You
Well,
know.
I watch the Raiders, but when the Chiefs are on, I don't really care to give it that much attention.
Okay. Okay.
Except for this year, I did something, bro. It hurts my heart.
What happened?
Patrick Mahomes, my fantasy football quarterback.
Oh man. You ever been kicked out of the family or what's going on here?
Hey, man, it's a pay league. He
Yeah.
was the best player.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Money
This
over everything.
exactly. This is feelings are not feelings gets losses, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm in 3 leagues, and yeah, I know the feeling. Uh,
yeah.
all right, so let me just talk about the Chiefs for a second here, since we
Go
want to talk
ahead.
about the boys. 2-0. Week one looked decent. We had a tough opponent in the Ravens. Thursday night thriller ended the last second on a toe. Uh, we have exciting rookie Xavier Worthy, fastest man ever on the combine. Obviously, we have the return of the champs, led by Patrick Mahomes, and the defense led by Chris Jones doing this thing as well. So I thought, this looks like it's going to be a pretty good attempt at the three-peat. Since then, we've had word that our ace in the hole, Hollywood Brown, is going to be out basically the entire season because of one play. He played one play in the preseason, got his collarbone jacked up. So now he's not going to play the whole season. I'm like, dude, how the fuck does that even happen? But it is what it is. Um, but yeah, coming out against the Bengals, one of our heated rivals, we seemed okay, and then just got worse. Patrick had one of his worst games I think I've ever seen him play. Um, and somehow at the end, we're still able to pull it out. But as far as Travis Kelsey goes, let's see, we had Taylor Swift on camera probably 5 times, which I love because she's our queen. Uh, and Travis didn't really do too much. But be us in the moment, okay? Us, we're all dating Taylor Swift when Travis Kelsey dates Taylor Swift. So how do you feel about that?
Um, I think the Taylor Swift almost makes you guys into a parody of a football team. You have people who have know absolutely nothing about football, who now instead of relating to some of the quality players that you have and some of the achievements of your team, you guys have been boiled down to a flat back white girl. And I mean, I kind of feel bad for it. I mean, like, they should know more about the Chiefs, except for somebody who's dating a player. So I know in Chief nations, I guess they
Kingdom.
believe in open borders. I guess and they allow everyone in. That type
Word
of shit wouldn't fly in Raider Nation, but I'm sorry, Chiefs Nation. You don't have a nation there.
yeah.
Chiefs
Kingdom.
fiefdom or kingdom or whatever the hell you guys call yourselves. Um, I think it's bad for the Chiefs, and especially when they break up, which they will break up. And Taylor does a platinum breakup song,
As
which
decreed by our
every
contract.
team will play on third down.
Oh
Um,
man.
to rattle Kelsey's sometimes stone hands anyway. So uh,
Swifties aren't sending their best.
I'm just looking forward to the backlash. That's all I'm saying. I'm just looking forward to the backlash.
Hey, I'm here to ride that wave, baby. Like whatever's gonna happen, let it happen. If Kelsey is gonna go through that, have a song, we're going to lose the Swifties in the fan base. That's fine. Let's get this 3P out of the way, and then whatever happens, I'm down. You can collapse as far as like Travis isn't going to be around that long anyway. So, yeah, I'd say ride it out like this.
I don't know. I mean, you're saying three-peat, and I can understand why you're saying it, right? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
no, as much as I don't like the Chiefs, and I am a certified hater,
Yep.
I
Criterion.
do try to still use some logic in my level of hate, right?
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough season for the Chiefs. I think expectations are going to start weighing heavy on them,
Oof.
and that pressure may crack them. It may not, but my feeling is there's going to be some imploding moments on that team after after a couple of losses, and plus the Kansas City fan base is shit. They will turn on them as soon as they have any type of hard times,
Uh-huh.
and that's going to be real interesting to watch. I'm looking forward to hopefully you'll eat your own children is what I'm thinking is going to happen out there.
Now you're a long-term believer in the Chiefs fan base being the worst in the league, not in the sense of battery throwing, Philly fans or just ridiculous Bills fans, but in the sense that Chiefs fans are the most spoiled, unappreciative fans in the NFL, according to you. Am I correct?
That's about it. That's right. That's right.
And the idea, now you told a story, I think, as to the first time you realized this. What do you recall?
It was back when you guys had a good run. Priest Holmes was there.
Yeah.
I think you guys had won 6 or 8 games in a row. You lost a game, and then I'm listening to the radio, and they're talking about how they should fire the coach.
Standard Chiefs.
And it just kind of dawned on me, right? Like, you guys are each your own, right? Like, if it's good, it's good. If it's not good, you will try to fire your way to victory. Which, I mean, I guess that's a way of going about it. I mean, I guess that used to work, just beat people into submission or run them off. But and then I didn't even get into the fact either that Chiefs had epidemic proportion of beating their wives and all those other type of things. Like they just and and it used to bother me because the Raiders had such bad PR. But I lived in Kansas City, and like you guys were some real life assholes. Like real life, like not manufactured, trying to hide it.
Now, I'm too young to really know, the situation with the Chiefs back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that as a hard-nosed, dyed-in-the-wool Chiefs fan,
Okay.
I have noticed that, yeah, the second something goes less than perfect, there's all sorts of people on the message boards talking about, fire Beach, fire Reed, Patrick Mahomes ain't shit, all sorts of stuff. But I have a hard time believing that it's any better in Raiders Nation unless you guys have been so beat down by your ineptitude that you're not as fiery about mediocrity.
I guess maybe. So I've been in a lot of cities. I've been to a lot of stadiums. I've seen a lot of fans, and they just seem solid about their team. It doesn't matter if they have a bad game or a good game. It's like that Chicago Cubs, we're going to win next year when they hadn't won in 50 years mentality. And maybe, you guys have a bar that's been set so high in your mind that whenever somebody has a bad game, you have to crucify them for it. But I never liked that vibe.
We're Spartans over here, okay?
Sure.
The baby comes out less than perfect, throw it over the cliff.
Absolutely.
All I'm going to say, I'm going to wrap the Chiefs on just saying that I do think the three-peat's going to happen. I'm ready for it. The league's ready for it. You can't disappoint Taylor Swift. Let's make it happen.
Hey, you know what? I agree. The league is ready for it. I believe the officiating is definitely ready for it.
Shit.
I've been watching some footage, bro, and it seems as though things like offsides, illegal motion, things like that don't count when it's against the Chiefs. Holding doesn't necessarily count when you're an offensive lineman for the Chiefs. I have watched a collage of videos, and yes, they were definitely put together with hate in their heart. But when I looked at it, the fact still remains: you guys are the new Patriots.
I will give you that. We're absolutely the new Patriots. But I will also say that I've seen these videos, and I'm not saying the Chiefs haven't gotten away with a penalty or two. All right. What I am going to say is I know there's several penalties the Chiefs, A, are getting called on, B, aren't committing and still are getting called on, and C, other teams are getting away with as well. So I can listen. If I had a team that I wasn't focused on just watching them win, and I just wanted to put some hate out there, I could absolutely put together a compilation of non-calls on other teams and bullshit calls for the Chiefs.
You guys are the new Patriots. Whenever
Yes,
something
yes.
bounces in your favor, you're going to get shit on for it. Okay? So expect it.
Did you watch this game, Chiefs?
Did I watch the what?
Did you watch the Bengals?
I watched
Chiefs
most
game?
of it, yeah.
Okay. Did you see the last couple
No,
plays?
I was done.
Okay. Well, there was a series in which the Chiefs, I think, were down. It was a fourth down, 4th and 6 or so, and Patrick throws the
Okay.
ball hot for conversion, but the Chiefs get called for illegal hands to the face. Our left tackle put his hands. Well, he didn't really put his hands on there. The defensive end, Trey Henderson of the Bengals, like lifted his left hand, but our left
Uh
tackle's
huh.
left hand, and it ended up on his face mask, which made it illegal hands to
Okay.
the face. So I'm like, all right, that's the rule. Kind of bullshit, but whatever. So we go back, right? Uh, and the Chiefs attempt an even longer fourth down, and the Bengals defender basically pushed Rasheed Rice to the back, goes right through his back before the ball gets there, and gets rightfully called for defensive pass interference. Now you already got people online talking about how, oh, the refs won't make it close. Why do they call that? Just like in the Super Bowl with the Eagles, where they're like, that last play where Bradbury got called for defensive holding, which he did, which he admitted he did, but people just don't want to hear it. They're like, "Oh, you can't call that penalty at the last
No,
second." It's like, no, it's a
that's not
penalty.
my thing. I think he did do it. I just think that there's a lot of non calls that the Chiefs get. I watched that same Super Bowl, and I watched your offensive lineman hold that man coming off the end, like arm wrapped around his chest, a majority of the game. You didn't get one single holding call in the entire game. Get the fuck out of here.
I have to watch the film.
Okay, let's stick with that. The Raiders. I'll just talk about the Raiders real quick, and I'm not going to be as long as or as eloquent as you. I'm upset today because and you remember I said this, right? I'm watching
Yep.
football. I'm watching Red Zone, and it shows who's scoring the most.
Yep.
And I've watched a whole lot of Saints fucking football.
Uh,
I watched a lot of Derek Carr balling out. He had for the first 15 drives that he had under snap. They scored in all 15 drives.
wow. Wow.
I believe
Okay.
they set a record today for the or got into a group of teams of where there was where they in 3 games they scored 47 points or more 3 consecutive games.
Wow.
And everybody here was shitting on Carr. And you remember me saying, it's not Carr, it's the people around Carr.
Uh huh. Uh
Yeah.
huh.
Anyway, so now I have Minshew. Um,
Okay.
he threw the most ridiculous, interception last game where he was kind of threw it behind him, like some. It's hard being a Raiders fan, but I'm always going to support them. I'm there for the nation. I think Ontario Pierce, if anybody can get things together, it'll be him. But it's going to be a
Yeah.
long season being a fan. And yeah, they pulled a game out, but it was the most boring, ridiculous fucking field goal fest until the very end of the game that you can watch, and it was annoying to watch the offense not work. The defense looked good. Max looked great. Crosby, yeah,
That's
Crosby, he's a freak, right? But it's going to be a tough season for us.
well. Let's see here. So just to kind of touch on Derek Carr. Wow. Yeah. So you're watching your ex over there with a new man. She got a new car. She in a big house, new clothes,
Yeah,
jewelry, and looking at your broke ass. Like, what the fuck is
yeah.
that?
Giving her leftovers from the 5-star restaurant to homeless people and looking good at it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Right.
that type of shit.
BBL.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing Pilates and now look at
Yeah,
it. Oh
got a
man,
BBL and
Derek
everything.
Carr. Now, do you think this is it the system? Has he had a
I
revelation?
don't know.
Is
I
it like
mean,
what's going?
when they played in the first week, who did they play last week? They played somebody that wasn't that great.
I want to see the
They
Panthers right now.
might have been, but they beat up on them, right? They beat up on them. It wasn't the game was over at halftime, right? Carr looked good, but the team had a weak defense. It wasn't a strong team, blah blah blah. So you got sometimes you just take it as they're not that good. The other team's just that bad. They played against the Cowboys this week,
Cowboys.
and and touched them up.
I mean, they didn't just like sort of win.
They touched them up.
It was
Alvin Kamara is
yeah.
looking great. That offensive line is making good holes. He's making good cuts. Carr is poised. He's delivering the ball where it needs to be. He's also not being harassed in the pocket like he was at the Raiders, and he's able to make some good decisions. He looked good.
Now,
44-19,
about,
they beat that ass today.
How much
44-19 against the Cowboys.
40, bro. And they were in
the Cowboys Stadium,
right?
Yes.
Wow, Jera ain't gonna like that.
Somebody got fired today.
Okay.
There's some. But yeah, I mean, they look good, and it's just frustrating. Like you said, it's like watching my ex-girl moving on to a better nigga. Like not even that she's doing good. He's just better. You know what I'm saying? He has the better house. And he's a nice person on top of that. He's hard to hate. You know what I mean? It's just like she did better. She did better.
The best thing she ever did was leave your broke ass.
So that was my thoughts today during football.
So let's go to Minshew. All right, so you're rebuilding this thing. You can't get the quarterback you wanted because the Falcons picked Penix for inexplicable reasons. So now you're stuck with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. All right, so what's going on there? Is it them still? Is it them, or is it still the team around them?
It can't be them. They are at best quarterbacks that don't lose games. They're not going to win games, right? It's the team around them at best. I mean, it's a tough. I mean, like it's tough watching him because I know he has growth in him and he may have potential. But I think right now, what's rubbed off on me is my time living in the Kansas City area. I don't give a fuck. I want competency today, and I'm just not seeing it.
Might need to get your Chiefs fandom on and say, fire the coach, fire the GM.
I don't know. I think what the Raiders need is stability. And that's something that program's never had.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, I mean, I kind of like Antonio Pierce.
I do too.
Like he's got that grit in him.
Got that dog in him.
Got that dog. So I feel like that's rubbing off on the defense. Now I don't know what you're gonna do with the offense.
Yeah, the defense looked. I mean, going back to it being a boring game, and it being a 9-point game going into, or it was 6-9 at halftime, all field goals, right? I mean, that does say something about that defense. You know what I mean? And their ability to stop Max Crosby. Like I said, he was great, and they were playing against what's his name? Their quarterback, the one that runs all over the place. Drawing a.
Oh,
yeah, Lamar Jackson, which is no slouch, right? And to hold them the way that they did, they got tired though, is what I saw. It was the first 3 quarters they played really well, but towards the end, you could see that chasing down Jackson all game was starting to wear that defensive line thin, and which then allowed opportunities. Zay Flowers had this incredible catch where he ran out of the pocket, he ran for his life. Max Crosby barely missed him, and he throws this cross body pass, and I could see the air starting to let out the defense at that point. They were tired.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, you guys are 1-1 on a team that I didn't have high expectations for, and you hemmed up one of the top teams supposedly. In AFC, last year's AFC Championship contender.
Yeah.
So
there's some glimmer of hope, but I just don't know how this. It's all going to depend on how they can work with or around or through Minshew.
Okay, so you're not trying to throw this year. you guys are going to compete?
No, I mean I've heard you go on the fan boards, they talk about crazy shit like that, but no, I don't think it's in. I don't think it's in a
Is
Raiders.
it?
I don't think it's in the Raiders organization to do something like that.
Okay. All right.
Once again, you think Antonio Pierce is going to say throw a season in his early career as a head coach? That's
I'd say he's got a year. You can toss this year. Next year, you draft, Shador Sanders or someone that's going to play the Raiders' way, and then you take off.
now we got some
No.
stars, bro. After this Gruden thing, you're gonna have to do faster rebuilds. You're gonna have to do faster rebuilds, all right? Like you had a 10-year plan before. We were patient, and that got us nowhere.
Oh man, I forgot about that. It was a 10-year contract. How many million? Wow, I have a feeling that he kind of did that on purpose, like just to fuck you guys. Because he's got a bad history with the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a bad history with Al. Yeah. But a lot of people who worked in and around Al had a bad history with Al. So, I mean, that's you. I complained about it for years. He was an asshole. Like how he put Marcus Allen out there at the Chiefs. I mean, that was just some hoe shit.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. And I watched him squirt and squirm all them short runs and get them touchdowns for y'all. I was pissing me off. Yeah. But I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes there's certain teams that are plagued with bad ownership, and the Cowboys are starting to get there too, right? The owner they're too visible. They are making decisions that are already tough even more difficult because they're choosing to do it in a public eye and hold press conferences and talk instead of having their mechanism talk for them the way it should work. There's a lot of teams out there that you have no idea who the fucking owner is. But everybody know who owns the Cowboys. Everybody know who owns the Raiders, and it's because those old meddling ass owners, they need to go. A lot of them need to just step back.
Well, there's an ego to it as well. Like these owners are very much they want to be stars.
They are.
Like Jerry Jones doesn't want the Cowboys to be, successful without his face in front of the whole thing, right? I don't know what Al Davis Jr.
Yeah, he's more low key, and he's absolutely more. He's about the business, and I like him. He doesn't come out much. I hear more about him in the city around his with the Aces, because he also owns the World Championship WNBA basketball team, the Aces, and they do good. We could have a whole segment on that. It's ridiculous. Just the way that the league runs, the lack of money that comes into the league, the overall lack of fan support, particularly from women who then complain about the salaries not being there because the league actually runs in a deficit. It's things like that. I mean, a lot of those, they deserve a lot more recognition than they get. But they just don't. There's no spotlight. It feels like for them, they're not going to get the airtime. They're not getting the endorsements, except for when the Caitlin Clark came in. Caitlin did up the level of the game. People were looking at it. Her name recognition was high. She became like the Jordan of it, and she came out there and she played fairly well. But speaking of that, I think this is a great segue, right?
Yeah. Let's
we'll bring this all together. Your queen, after the debate, sent out a message saying, there's AI out there saying that I support Trump. It's come to me that I've never made my position clear. Let me tell you, I stand with Harris, right? And that in itself, I thought was incredibly interesting. If you got any time to actually read the hate that she got you remember when LeBron James spoke out and Laura Ingram's basically told him to shut up and dribble? Yeah. She got shut up and dribble from MAGA. And it was good to watch. I was just like, yep. It was like, you done got out your place, girl. And they checked the shit out of her for it, right? People were like, I just started watching WNBA again, but now after hearing I guess I'm going to stop watching that. Like, giving up on the whole WNBA because She didn't say I 100% support Harris. She didn't say I hate Donald Trump. She liked a fucking post and got
Yep,
her ass
yep.
ate up for that. But while we're talking
Okay.
about it, let's get at it, man. What's your hot take? I want to
Well,
hear about this. What do you think about the debate?
first off, let me respond to what you're just saying about that, okay? Because I got some nuance, I think, about celebrities coming out and endorsing people or talking politics in general. Now, I personally, I don't give a shit about celebrity endorsements, okay? And I wish they wouldn't happen. I think they're. I don't think they do anything. I hope most people don't sit there on the sidelines waiting to hear from Taylor Swift or whomever to come out and be like, "This is the person I'm voting for," and then act accordingly. I hope we're a little more educated than that. But here's the thing that I'm having a problem with. Number one, uh, if a person comes out and just says, I like this person, that's fine. I don't really care that you want to come out and be vocal, okay? But my issue is with the right wing is that these people don't care that a celebrity came out and was talking politics. That's not their problem. They're mad because a celebrity came out and supported a Democrat. Had Taylor Swift come out and supported Donald
Yes,
Trump, she'd be posted up as the biggest star, American beauty on the
Patriot.
planet, someone who loves America, patriot, all that shit. So I'm having a hard time in the year of our Lord, 2024, people still taking these people credulously as far as like, oh yeah, they just don't like what politics or celebrities talk about politics. No, they hate celebrities talking about Democrat politics. Now, I will give Taylor a pass because she had to come out and set the record straight because the Trump campaign was putting
AI.
out AI images of her supporters or maybe even her actual likeness as being a Trump supporter. So I think if there's ever a case where a celebrity has to come out and be like, "Hey, by the way, I don't support this guy. I actually like the other guy or whatever," this is the only time I think is acceptable.
Well, Republicans hate Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. No, well, they hate
They
Democrat
do.
Hollywood.
They
They
they hate.
love
Well,
Jim
I'm sorry. They hate
West.
Hollywood because they perceive Hollywood as liberal. And if you're in Hollywood and are not liberal, then you're good, right? And I think it's what Hollywood represents. It represents the forward-thinking liberal idea that they absolutely don't support, and it's not part of their structure. I think the funny thing about this is that this is more of a bigger problem about where we are as a society. One, I hate to say it though, but Taylor Swift coming out and saying that she supports a candidate does sway a large group of mindless people who are living in echo chambers that follow the herd. And unfortunately, there are more people in the herd now than I think has ever been in American history, right? So, yeah, it does have a sway, right? Um, but the fact that she's being attacked is exactly, I agree with you, it's the problem. They've taken a gang mentality, almost like to the point where you see somebody walking minding their own business, but they have on blue, and you're simply going to fuck with them because they have on blue, right? It's they didn't do nothing to you. They were really minding their own business. They happen to say, I like this color.
Repping the wrong
And the next
set.
thing you know, but now it goes into your rep in a set. You get. I hate the vile way that the Republicans frame the Democrat Party, the PizzaGate type of undertone that they have, the pedophile undertone, and outright statements that Marjorie Taylor Greene sat on the floor and actually said out loud that they're the party of pedophiles,
Oh
right?
yeah, you can say that.
Like I think
Uh,
that's the bigger issue for me is the villainization of your opponent, and it puts us in a situation where negotiations aren't possible because now you're not just about talking about ideals. You've put it to a point where now you're questioning someone's morality and their integrity by their affiliation
right.
to a political party, and I think that's dangerous as hell, man.
Oh yeah, you can say all that. You can call leftists, Democrats. They don't have to be like leftists, just straight liberal. All right, you can call them communists, you can call them anti-American, you can call them actually hating America, pedophiles, like all this stuff. But you call a conservative a racist, it's, oh my god, yeah, deplorable. How are you gonna call people deplorable? It's like, oh, okay, so all of a sudden you're not okay with name calling. Now check this out. I don't know if you heard, but there was a second assassination attempt on Donald Trump
Today? Oh, I
today.
did not know that.
Yeah. So he was apparently out. I'm kind of reading it right now. You can probably look it up if you want. But he was at Mar-a-Lago, I think, golfing, and someone with a high-powered rifle was shooting at him. Obviously, they had to take maneuvers, and the Secret Service shot back. The guy's in custody right now, which is good. We get a chance to figure out what the hell his problem was. But yeah, AR style rifle. Um, you know, kind of looks like a freak. Looking at his picture right now. But yeah, so we're gonna see what's going on with this guy. Obviously, he's gonna lead to more talk about the rhetoric around Trump. Um, that I'm not even necessarily against because I mean, if it's true, it's true. But at the same time, it's like here we are again. Another crazed person.
Oh man, if this is him, man, he looks okay. He looks homeless.
Yeah.
Um, with the American flag around his neck with a vest on. I mean, look, some of this too, man, is I think it's gotten to a point where it's gotten out of control. The very thing that he used to get the fire started, the dog whistles, the call to actions that he's made, they are now taking their own life of their own. You know, they're no longer looking for him to accuse, right? I mean, even if you look at the Republican Party as itself, you know, you have some of them that will speak out against them, and they're fine with doing that. Before, they would never do that. Even MAGA Republicans, not all of them 100% agree with everything that he says, right? And
Right.
there's a cult, and they're looking for a new leader. I think is where about where they're at. You know, it's pretty tough, man. And every time I look at this situation, it's a scary situation to me for the American public because we have gotten very far down a divided line. We no longer accept logic. We no longer can talk about facts. For every fact, someone has another fact that somehow is greater than the real fact. The alternative truth thing, or alternative facts. It's gotten to a point where it's unfortunately, I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And some of these extremists are going to lash out against anybody who pushes back against them, and I kind of feel scared for America right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of issues going on, but I think that, yes, it's a combination of the desperation of the American people. Because a lot of people just, they aren't doing well. And you're not doing well in a country that has promised you what we colloquially understand as the American dream. It's not there. And for those that had it, some of it's being taken away, as in you had a house at one point in 2007, 2008, you don't anymore, right? So, we got these people that are having these things happen to them, this trauma, and now we're in one of the most contentious election years. I mean, every president, every 4 years, we go through a cycle of like people just being pissed, right? So here we are, uh, naturally contentious, and then you have the contention of a Donald Trump in there saying what he says, doing what he does, and just the anxiety around it. And yeah, people are snapping. People are snapping over it. So,
Yeah.
with that said, how do you like your dog cooked?
Um, you know, I'm not so big on dog. I more prefer cat. And
Cat
but
wing-
you know what?
Wiener or
Anything slow cooked is good though, right? So I mean, you go there, you got to properly season it. But I like mine. You know, I like cat orange chicken style. You know, like something about that orange juice and the way that it marinates in with it is good. But or just a good you know a good marinade with some soy sauce and some other items like that. You know, let it marinate overnight in the bag with some garlic, throw it on the grill. It's all good.
yeah, yeah. Now I like a good brine, of
Okay.
course. Okay, rosemary, pepper seeds, salt, typical stuff. But all that obviously smoked over hickory, good 10 hours. Oh, that dog comes out. Whew, boy, I'm telling you.
No, you prefer dog over cat?
I prefer smoked dog, but if I'm going to go cat, I prefer fried. To be
Oh,
honest with
yeah,
you. Yeah,
there
yeah,
there
kind of
there
chicken.
there is a difference there.
Yeah, yeah. Give me some cats and collard greens. Boy, I'm in heaven.
Yeah, you can get some cat hocks.
Some cat
Yeah,
hocks.
instead
Yeah,
of like a
yeah,
ham
just
hock, you get a cat hock. Like a smoked turkey leg. Put that in your
yeah, yeah.
greens. Oh,
Now, that's got antioxidants. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure, right? So that's
Hmm.
good for the body, and just like all the protein you need. I mean, you can't go
Yeah.
wrong.
A CLT is pretty good too, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yes. I love it. Where are we in this world? In a debate where one of the major former presidents brings up people eating dogs. Are you familiar with where this comes from? Like, what are your thoughts? I want to know.
I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg on this particular one. Um, and it's a tough one for me, right? At first, it was just on the face value. That's just some racist shit. Haitians eating cats and dogs. Like this is the shit that I'm talking about, right? Of how you divide the nation is when you say things, ridiculous things like that. And
Uh,
then I went and did my own first level of fact checking, and I can't find anything.
did your own
Yeah,
research? Okay.
it's everything. Everybody's saying nope, not true. And then you get a little bit deeper in, and you start going down some more traditional conservative pathways of information, and you find people that are out there saying, "Yeah, it happened," and that are upset about it and are scared to speak about it because they're going to be called crazy and think that they're just trying to get involved in this whole political thing. But I lost my dog.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that was manufactured afterwards and people are doing this. Cult members do weird things.
Uh
But the
huh.
police claim, hands down, there have been zero complaints filed with them about it.
Okay. All right. So, from my understanding, I haven't done any research, so I don't know if this is true. But I may be spreading fake news.
Okay, fake
Okay.
news. I think what I said was
From my,
fake news too. I'm just for the fact. I think it was manufactured. I don't believe it. I just don't believe this is a thing.
okay. All right. So, from my understanding, there is police. The way this came about is that there is police footage out there that a cop, you see, his cop cam, his chest. He's approaching this woman, and you can see there's a dead cat, like severed head, fire, and she's been cooking this cat, and she's eating something. And the cops basically like, are, "Are you eating this cat?" And the woman's like, "Yeah, I'm eating this cat." Now, if that's true, okay, fine. But
I heard she was a
apparently,
crackhead.
yeah, this woman isn't Haitian. She's just a regular black lady, and on top of that, she may have been a crackhead. So, if you're talking about this regular black, on crack or meth or crocodile, and instead of eating faces, they're eating cats. That's kind of a one-off. I'm gonna need a bigger sample size of people like Haitians, like rounding up cats and eating them. And I saw another video. A guy claimed a bus full of cats was taken by Haitians.
Okay, okay. I got so many questions. Right? At what event? What is the catalyst for a bus to be filled with cats? Like how does that happen to start off to be a bus full of cats? I'm confused as shit.
Well, obviously they're going to slaughter so you can sell them at the Haitian food market.
So they caught all these cats.
So apparently, like a dog catcher, like an animal, rounding up animal. What do they call it?
Animal control.
Animal control. Yes. Control unit has all these cats, and they got jacked for those cats.
Yeah. I mean, There was a whole lot of hot peanut oil that night. That's what was going on there. It's a good fried cat. I don't know. Here's my thing with it, though. To be very honest with you, like when you really boil it down, that whole conversation came in a conversation around immigration control, and it was being framed in a way that you did such a poor job with immigration control that situations like this can even take place. Right? My problem I have with that is that when the immigration bill was put forward, and it was not a perfect bill, but it was a bill that was going to help move things towards a better direction and start addressing the border security issue, which has been an issue over multiple presidencies, right? Trump called his buddies and told them to kill the bill. Right. So fuck you. At this point, like, you don't have the right to throw a stone because it's just as smart as when he was talking about killing universal health care. And they asked him, well, what is your plan? And he says, I have concepts.
Concepts of a plan. Oh, that's going down in history as one of the worst answers anyone's ever given.
9 years you sat in that in politics. You should have some idea that you can articulate that you want to do. Anything. Because it doesn't have to even be a good plan. It doesn't. It has to sound good. Like what Kamala said.
Yeah.
Because those aren't necessarily good plans. Like, if you really look at the points of what she said she wants to do, it will stoke inflation.
Well, and it's fair to remind the audience that we're not Kamala stans. You know, it's just that we understand that as the two, one of them will be president, and maybe the one that doesn't talk about people eating dogs is probably the better saying of mine.
Or the one that's not a felon, and keep the one that prosecuted felons. I think that might be.
But to go back to what you're saying, this kind of goes back to what we said about celebrities endorsement. It's okay. You don't want people to endorse politicians, but no. Oh, you actually just don't want Democrats or people endorsing Democrats. And then come back to this, it's like, okay, well, you said you cared about the border and what we're doing down in the border. We get a bill that's bipartisan, mind you, and you kill it, not because of anything there's wrong with it necessarily, but because you don't want the Democrats to get a win. So it's more about you winning than it is solving
you winning.
So
yeah, key word, you. And I don't know if you watch the Democratic National Conventions.
Barely.
Bill Clinton, he gave a speech, and I'm not gonna go through it, but he had a line in there where he said, "I want when Trump talks, I don't want you to count the lies, count the eyes." They were like, "He's not for you; he's for himself." And it was a well done speech. I probably didn't do it justice there, but it was a very catchy line. Don't count the lies, count the eyes.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that. And I want to say Kamala said that on the stage too.
Did she? I missed the first 30 minutes, and then I just didn't want to go back and watch the beginning again. I watched some of the wrap up stuff, and I always know, in my opinion, who did well and who didn't do well. All I have to do is watch Fox News.
Okay. Okay. Now, how do you measure that? Tell me.
Well, if their candidate does well, they're going to highlight the exact words that he said and everything that person did that made them great, right? They're going to absolutely shit on the other person and highlight everything that the other person did poorly. Even if they had good moments, you'll never see them. You're only going to see the bad moments, right? They didn't do any of that. They attacked the moderators.
Ooh, okay. So when you talk about the fact checking,
and that's what they were talking about. The fact that he got fact checked. They were like, the only real loser here was the moderators. Right? Yeah. If Trump would have came out there and killed her, they wouldn't even bother talking about her. Like, they would have been like, even though those moderators said this, our guy. But no, they didn't even talk about their guy. And then the thing that they liked the best about him, which I thought was very much goes back to this petty fighting mentality we have, it was the shitty lines that he said, right? When he told her like I'm talking, sound familiar, like thing, like that's what they were happy that he did. they really were mad because they didn't feel as though Kamala got a chance to talk about any of her policies. Kamala does have a record of changing her position, and she did kind of discuss it. I, as an adult, um, appreciate people who can change their position and can grow. If you are growing and you looked at something one way and then through time and additional knowledge, you decide that there's a better way to do it, I don't think that's necessarily a horrible thing. And I think they just needed to explore, did she have a moment where she realized that something was better, or did she just change her talking points in order to win the presidency? And I think that's a good conversation to look into. But, I don't think she really got challenged. I think Trump imploded. I don't think he was ready for it. His body language, he wouldn't even look at her a lot of the points. And I think she allowed him to talk when you need to, because sometimes just letting them talk, you don't really have to say anything. He's going to say something about eating dogs or cats, right? You don't have to really do anything about it, right? Um, I think she did a pretty good job navigating through that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so let's double back on something. Actually, you know what? Let's start with Kamala. Yeah, she absolutely was dominant up there. Trump had his moments, but every time uh, she said something, she always seemed to leave like a nugget of like a trap for him to fall
He took
into.
it every time.
The one of the, yeah, the bait, and one of the biggest was her talking about his crowd size. And the second she mentioned that, it
Oh
was
yeah,
over. All you could think about was, okay, wait a second, she just impeached my my crowd size, my popularity. I can't let that stand. He goes to this whole tangent. He can't even focus. He's so mad about her talking
and
about that
people
stuff.
leaving.
So yeah, people. Oh yeah, that was just burning him up. Visibly shook him on those type of things. But one thing that a lot of people miss is that, or maybe he didn't say it in the actual debate, but afterwards, he alleged that she maybe got the questions before the debate, which I don't know if people realize this, but that's Trump admitting that she did so well that the only
She
explanation
cheated.
was that that she cheated. So it's like even Trump knows he got smashed on that stage. Now I will say something as far as we've gone over the insanity. Everyone's gone over the insanity of the dog stuff and like him just kind of rambling about crowd size and so on and so forth. I want to talk about the debate moderators because I have a few thoughts on that. My first thought is I don't like moderators fact check. Okay, I think if there's something wrong with what a candidate says, it's the job of the other candidate to correct them with their facts. And I think this serves two purposes. One, you keep the moderators neutral. You don't put that on top of them. But two, you don't give the optics that whomever's getting fact checked, and in this case it was Trump, maybe rightfully so. Some argue. You don't give the optics that of the four people that are in that room, it was three against one. Okay, you don't want that to be the case, and that gave Fox News the opportunity to be like it was biased. They were stacked against Trump. They didn't fact check Kamala, even though she had some lies, which I'm sure she did. She absolutely did, actually. But you just don't want to give that to them. So I don't like it. I don't like setting up a precedent that, okay, if we're on CBS or whatever channel that was, okay, those moderators on fact check. Okay, what happens if the next moderator, the next debate is on Fox News? Like, do you want Sean Hannity and fucking Laura Ingraham to be fact checking Kamala Harris with their crazy batshit? Like, no, we don't want to do that. They should stay out of it. But some people say Trump was such a big liar they had to do it, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that. But what are your thoughts?
Um, I think the debate is about the candidates. It should never be about another person involved. I think the moderator's job is to keep it from turning into a circus and
No, I agree.
try to keep them to talk about the things that you're trying to get them to talk about. Um, their answer, whether it's batshit crazy or not, you're right. It's the other candidate's part, and I think if there's anything that hurt Harris was the moderators because in the MAGA world. they're not going to give her credit for anything that she said because she had a leg up, right? So she didn't even have an opportunity to spread anything because the way that they conducted themselves, it made it look one sided, and the MAGA people aren't going to even pay attention.
Right. If there was a chance
If
for
there
them
is a chance,
to.
I am a firm believer that civil dialogue could change this country. I really wish that we could go back to having intelligent debates that don't end in fistfights or talking about somebody's mama. Um, because I think the best ideas we have are the ones that are taking the best parts of both sides of the house. The Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah. Hashtag Jesse Ventura. Um, Now, do you think? Because I'm pretty sure, regardless of the debate, everyone's pretty well set of who they're going to
Yeah,
vote for. Do you think this debate moved the needle any for anyone?
I think it's always about those swing voters, the ones that sit in the middle. I think it's actually more about former Trump supporters,
Mm.
and I could see that maybe some of them may walk away after that. Right, the ones that I think they're exhausted of him. And that's the thing about Trump that is so difficult for I think a lot of people to understand. He resonates for different people on different frequencies, right? I
Yep.
don't
Yep.
care for Kanye West as a person, but I'm a huge fan of his music. I can make a distinction between the two of them, right? And there are people that are in Trump's base that can do the same. They don't necessarily care for him as a person, but they care for his financial policies and they care for the things that they're going to help them continue to be financially successful, right?
Yep.
And those people are the ones that you have to cater to. And there was a moment though in the election and when Kamala said some things that have made those people a little nervous, right? Huge social service programs traditionally don't translate well to the economy. And when she talks about the $25,000 for purchasing a home, I think it was the 6,500 for having a baby. Lord, you're going to say that to people who help hate welfare, that you're going to just give people money for babies? Like, there's some of that when, even though it's a great idea, you're trying to win a race, right? There's some things that you don't want to touch. The stove is hot, and that didn't make sense to me. Plus, when you look at the ramifications of policies like that, with unchecked capitalism and the way that they work, that is raised the floor, right? So if more money gets put into circulation, they just increase the cost of goods. They're not going to take a loss, and there's nobody that's going to make them take a loss. So it's interesting. Financially, I'm a Trump supporter. Everything else that makes common sense, moral decency, or anything else, I can never vote for him. But financially, I think he did good because he does the hard thing. He does the thing that Biden and Harris won't do.
Which is
You can't support green,
okay. Okay.
right? You can't, like, the green policies and all of that. That has a bad backlash on the economy. If you look at what Trump did, Trump came in and one of the first positions he filled, because he didn't fill many, but one of the first ones he did get filled was the head of the EPA, which, if you look it up, was a man who was in active litigation against the EPA.
Yeah.
And he destroyed the EPA from the inside because he was the head of it. Doing something like that, it makes the economy boom because now big businesses aren't paying money to do the right thing anymore. There's no more a watchdog for them, so they can do their fuck shit, which in the end we all get an upgrade from it, right? The prices get better when they do that. When they tell them to go do right, and then they gotta like put in additional smokestacks, and they gotta update stuff, and they gotta worry about not dumping their waste in the lake. Like, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think a lot can be said about this stuff, and when it comes to economics, it's far more complicated than a lot of people give credit to. Your average person is going to think about how, like, you move this block, how that affects the rest of the Jenga tower, right? But I will say just a quick response to what you're saying. I think a person can support green, but the only problem with like Kamala Harris is that she's not going to do the actual hard part in my mind, which is to rein in the billionaires at the same time. Like the money is there, but you need to make sure you pull that from the correct people. We need to be able to support green without harming those who have gas guzzlers right now, those that can't put solar panels on their house at the moment. A more holistic way to do that. And the only way to do that is to leverage the money that billionaires have, I'm going to just say, stolen from the middle class over the course of the last 40 years. And that distinction is the distinction between being a liberal and a progressive. So she's a liberal. She's probably going to fuck this thing up. So,
It
what
doesn't
have you?
work. I hear everything you're saying. It doesn't work. When you come and take their money, they fuck the people that they fucked to start off with worse.
Well, yeah, that's their knee jerk reaction. But then you just have to stop them.
How?
Like, well, for starters, if you like, I guess we're going to give me an example of what, like regulating or what are you taxing the rich?
I mean,
Just
like,
straight
even
taxing the
if you
rich?
increase their taxes, right,
No,
they're going to get. You have to understand, you're dealing with people who live and die on margins, right?
right.
And when something is off in the margin, they make adjustments to the input and the output. So if you
Uh-huh.
make an adjustment to their output, they're going to make an adjustment to the input. There's just no way around it. They're not going to take the loss, Alvin, and that's where. And then what do? They find new and more creative ways to take money from different areas. It's like playing whack a mole, and this is where me and you have this whole fundamental disagreement about capitalism, right? I think I always say that I was pushing for that capitalism has to be have more regulations. There has to be more ways of stopping these people from doing things, and I didn't believe in unchecked capitalism, and that in the end they eat off of the people and literally will eat them alive. I think we were talking about it when we were watching I Am Virgo, and you were like, "Oh, that capitalist dribble," you're like, "I'm a big capitalist," and I'm like,
No, I'm on your page with that.
"Okay."
Yeah. No. I might have just been messing with you.
Okay, then yeah, I don't. Capitalism is it's a bad thing. Unchecked is a bad thing, and these corporations have gotten way too big. They've gotten way too strong. They're way too influential. I think they're the main reason why we have these conversations about politics, is because the politicians serve the corporations and the corporate interests before they serve ours. And so there's always this game of smoke and mirrors that they're playing, of acting like they care about us while they still take their bribes and money from big business. And I don't know how we change that until we attack the Senate process and the Congress process of term limits and things like that. Because right now the corruption is way too deep.
Well, that's a big part of it too. But I just think that for every action they take, there's a reaction to it. Like the people in the government have the ultimate power. So if you have a company that's, let's say, the Ford Motor Plant,
Okay.
right? You tell them you're taxing the executives, and they're like, "Well, we need to make more money, so we're going to go to automation." It's like, okay, well, if you go to automation, then now let's just tax them on the automation. Let's set up a UBI. I mean, they're going to snuff themselves out before you can't automate everything, right? So if they want to go tick, we'll go tag with them every time until they're down to nothing.
So if the government is that
If,
effective, tell me why we couldn't have done that when we rolled out healthcare. Because that's exactly what happened.
like
Yeah.
Obamacare,
I mean,
well, Obamacare is still that was a giveaway to the private sector, so it's still them being capitalists, except for now we're forced into the capitalist sector.
but that's still you're forcing it deeper into the belly of the pig. Healthcare itself is a money grab. The cost that we pay for healthcare is astronomical and unnecessary.
Mhm.
Um,
That's the capitalism there. And Obama is a liberal, like so. I'm saying like his thing was the liberal solution. He didn't do the progressive one, but the liberal solution is worse because it comes cloaked in this like progressive veneer, but it's not. It's just it's the split between progressive position and conservative position.
I give you that. I give you that.
So
I don't know. I don't have. I think where this whole conversation, where I agree with everything you said. First of all, I want to say that that's the way it should be, 100%. I just have so little faith in our ability to legislate that I don't think it would ever happen.
yeah, we'd have problems for sure. They're not going to do what they need to do. It will always be this neoliberal sort of like solution to everything, which will eventually fuck up everything. They have to go full bore progressive if they're going to do anything at all. Because what happens is they do the liberal thing, it gets said as progressive, so people hate the progressive thing, quote progressive thing. So now they want to go back to the conservative thing, not knowing that you didn't even do the progressive thing, you did the conservative light thing.
Isn't that how it always works, though, in politics? You're never going to get a fool anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody settles for light, right?
Well, middle ground, 50-50. I think I mentioned 50-50ism is going to be the bane of my existence. I hate it.
I agree. Sometimes things are stupid and shouldn't even be recognized, like eating dogs and cats.
Government better not take my dogs and cats away, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much.
And look,
Cold day.
I'm looking at the time, and I know we've gone kind of long, but I just got to I'm going to give you a teaser. Okay.
Okay. I'll let you wrap us up.
So I told you maybe a couple months ago that I started looking into Bigfoot, right? And I don't know why. Somebody recommended a podcast to me, right? And I listened to the podcast, and it starts off a little hokey, like eh. And then as it progresses, because I am a person that likes to hear hard facts and logical stuff, and you start moving further and further through it, and these guys don't sound like the guys with foil antennas, on their head, and the Martian people. So you start off with Bigfoot. It moves into the Bible, actually. And in the Bible, if you read the Old Testament, which is probably the more unpopular version of the Bible, right? And most of the time, we want to know about what happened when Jesus was here, right? But if you take the time and read some of the Old Testament stuff, there's a lot of things in there that you hear, but you don't even recognize. Like, who did David fight? And what was Goliath?
The giant.
No one questions that there were giants on the earth. No one says, "Fuck that." The giant, like, what was his people like?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's a good question, but at the same time, to me, it's like, well, we're already accepting the existence of supernatural beings, God being the preeminent one. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah, but a regular Christian is not cynical as fuck as you. Does it? They don't even recognize or even think about some of the Old Testament statements and some of the things that were said, right? And when you start going into it and you see there's evidence of burial mounds where there's a large collection of giant bones for people ranging between 7 and 13 feet tall, where you can see that a lot of these places are what they call the Indian burial mounds, which after the Smithsonian confiscated all of the bones that had been excavated and documented in local papers and pictures were taken of that you can't even find anymore. The Smithsonian has them and doesn't release them. Also, all of those sites also got deemed as historical locations, so no one can dig on them anymore. You can't go and excavate to find any more additional evidence or anything like that. Right, when you find that some of these burial sites have hieroglyphics in them, and then you pull back from that, and then it talks about a race of people on the earth called the Nephilim in the Bible, which were the children of the angels. And then you get down that path, and you start thinking, okay, it's perfectly logical that something like Bigfoot could still be roaming around. That's the final descendant of one of these Nephilim creatures, right? And then you go a little bit further, and you start looking at the way that Christianity and things that we know of, like Noah, for example, right? What did Noah do? He built the ark. You are not a Christian. But everybody knows about Noah. Everybody in Christianity knows Noah and the ark. Why did he build the ark?
Because there was a
A
flood.
great flood,
Uh,
right? You go
right.
through the Jewish religion, the Muslim religion, Hindu religion, ancient Greek religion, Nordic religions, they all have a flood event in them. Every last one of them do. Also, a lot of them have a reference somewhere in there about a burning chariot of fire with someone bringing knowledge, right? All of them have
Right.
that somewhere in there. And then it transitions into the next part of this crazy journey of gods were aliens. And then you go a little further, and you should look it up, the Anunnaki. The
Anunnaki.
Anunnaki,
Okay.
which were the space travelers who were refugees who came to this planet,
Build a
right?
wall around the
They
ozone
came
layer.
here for resources. I hear you. You're gonna have to build more. We need to put more money in Star Wars. Uh,
Yes, Space Force.
and they came here for mining resources, particularly gold, and they needed a workforce to do it. So they spliced our DNA with their DNA and created a worker class of people, and then did other things in order to make them be able to self appropriate to keep the workforce regenerating itself. Um, and then it gave them a religion and a belief structure because one of them wanted to be a god, right? His name was Amen, right?
Oh,
And he wanted to be a god so much that to the people that were the same as him, they have the same DNA as him. He made them every time that they prayed, they would have to say his name, Amen,
um, okay.
right?
All right.
And then there was a break, and then there was a fight between them, and then they had to leave the earth, right? The Anunnaki people, because they were fighting amongst themselves of we shouldn't subjugate man to be like this, right? Kind of like a fight in heaven. And as they were leaving, right, they switched the polarity on the poles, uh, not intentionally, but through their technology. Because pyramids are power sources, obelisks are antennas. Like you get into this, man, and like there's so much evidence for this. Like me say a pyramid is a power source, you're like this guy is batshit crazy. But if you actually get
Ah,
into the construction of it, how it was constructed, the fact that you can at certain harmonic resonance cause things to levitate, right? The fact of how this thing was tuned perfectly in key to a particular key, which then had signs of nuclear reactions with inside of it, right? The materials that were made are known to the quartz crystal, and if it is uh, has a certain like a explosive factor when it starts vibrating, the resonance of it creates basically free energy. Basically, the foundation of Nicholas Tesla's research when he was making the Tesla towers.
yeah. Whew.
And then you sit back after you go down this rabbit hole, Alvin, and you have to ask yourself hard questions like, how much of this can you really believe? Because it fucks with you. Like, because I feel as though I'm a very logical person. I've just said some things that I would laugh at other people to say out loud.
Yeah.
And you sit there and go, okay, how much of this is a well crafted story? Right? How much of this people putting things together that aren't there? And kind of makes you question a little bit about what's in this world and how much we haven't explored.
I believe a good. I mean, when it comes to the pyramid stuff, I think I do believe that stuff. Like uh, the way the construction. I mean, they've said it a million times that we couldn't do it now. Uh, but we're talking about people from back then who didn't have like a percentage of the
Yeah,
technology
pre
that we have.
Bronze Age. Think about that. Pre
Yeah,
Bronze Age, which means they didn't even have solid tools.
yeah. So you're constructing these things that were so well constructed that they still exist today, and the way that their advanced knowledge of astronomy and they develop mathematics for what we understand, um, and the way that these stories have come together, like a chariot, like to a person that's never seen a car or anything like that, a flying chariot fire is the way you describe a flying saucer, right? Like they have no other context, so that's the way it was written down. And I think we talked about this before, but the way that the way the Bible describes angels is not the way we see angels commercially.
Correct.
Like they're horrific looking,
Yes.
right? So you take that plus some of the Bible stories and the giants and things of that nature. It's like, man, maybe some of this stuff was. I haven't seen these bones, but I'm receptive. I'll say
Yeah.
that I'm receptive to it.
It's a lot of suppression of things too, right? When there's certain things that come out, they don't get discussed. And look, we're in an age now too where the government's no longer denying extraterrestrials,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the story of the Anunnaki is that they have been in contact with our government. They've been in our contact since the early 1900s, right? And they had been releasing and helping develop technology, or giving us information and teaching us how to use that technology. That's why you can see there's been such an explosion in the advancement of technology and electronics and all those things, is because they're providing that data to us, and in return we're providing them subjects, because they need some harvesting. They need some, different pieces, body parts, big things like that. They do test, and the government's fine with it. There's so many people that are allowed to go missing a year, and they're good. Um,
now whose government
and as
is
like this is
all
this is
Earth
this
people?
is where people make it sound like we're at a point of it's a well-oiled agreement, and all nations know better than to talk about it because they will end your nation.
Ah, man. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Back to the other point I wanted to say. When people say like um, God is in you, right?
Uh-huh.
It's because Anunnaki is in our DNA.
All right. Well, here's my only
All right.
question: if they come back and need people to go back to their home planet, for an internship, you hopping on or no?
Yeah. I am.
Okay.
Because if they come back, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's fuck for us. Um,
They're not asking; they're
hey,
telling
I'm riding. I'm riding. I'm gonna do the best I can to survive.
you.
But I don't know, man. Some of it puts it as a there's a fear if they return, and if they fully decide to return, because
Okay.
the fear is we've outlived our usefulness.
Right.
And we're no more than a experiment to them. I hope they got ethics and morals of a liberal. I hope they got
Well,
somebody up there trying to sue them if they kick the dog. You know what I mean? Like,
right, right. Are y'all eating human? Ugh. It's funny. I did mention that to someone though. I was talking about how the urge to kill and hurt and maim, that's something that lesser forms do, right? When you reach the point of being so smart and dominant over not only because you're talking about intergalactic space travel, and to do that, you basically need the ability to harness the power of the galaxy. And once you reach the point where you can leverage the energy of the galaxy, um, cruelness is something that you're beyond it, right? Now, that's not to say they won't do what they have to do, uh, should they need to do something. But the idea of coming here and like being mean and wanting to just kill or whatever, that's not something that a higher life form does. Take humans, for example. Even though we can be cruel, like we know to take care of pets, generally speaking, right?
in California.
outside of eating dog, yeah, or there's certain places where it's not as prevalent, but for the most part, we know that you got a dog, you treat the dog with some semblance of respect to the point where you're not killing it, maybe unless you're Michael Vick, right? So, like, I imagine once you're of the status of the Akanaki, you're you're not going to be haphazardly killing humans. I mean, you will, but that's not you got bigger you have galactic problems you're dealing
Yep.
with.
So
Like,
here's the problem
you're
for you,
not
Alvin. I agree with you. I agree with you. When you
okay.
get to that level of intelligence, you're going to make overall intelligent decisions that are driven towards a greater purpose or a greater goal, right?
Mm.
So let's say you are the Anunnaki and you come back, right? And you look at the pollution, you look at the population, you look at the deforestation, you look at the amount of animals that you left us with that no longer exist because you fucking animals have destroyed and killed them, right? Isn't there a point too where somebody at that level of understanding understands that there's a virus in the petri dish and I may have to eradicate it all?
Maybe, but my thought is it leans more towards, imagine you come home from work and your dogs chewed up your couch, shit on your kitchen table, destroyed everything. You're not going to kill the dog. You're going to be like, okay, there's something here we need to reprimand, and we need to just fix this so it doesn't happen again. Like, I think we're more. I think we'd be more pets to them than the virus.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I would hope so. I can see both worlds happening. you know,
Yeah,
I mean, both are very viable. Just because you're a high level life form, it could also mean that you're capable of high level killing and genocide of something because you know at a global level they are insignificant.
yeah. I just think killing. I think killing is a low level activity. I think once you get so smart, you realize that that's not necessarily your go-to. Like barbarians
No, but
kill.
at your level of
Like,
thought, though, I think where I'm disconnecting with you is at that level we could be more no more of a significant life form as bacteria in a petri dish. Yes, that bacteria
okay,
may have a colony. Who knows? In bacteria worlds, they may have families. However, you are a high level scientist. This dish needs to be cleaned.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're just disagreeing on the disconnect between human and them. Because in my mind, if they're splicing their genes with us, they're close enough to us to not see us so low as to be like bacteria. I think we're more dog than than entry
So
level.
here's
Yeah.
one for you, Alvin. Right,
Uh,
you find this in your journey through when I was going through this. Atlantis and the city of Atlantis. When you get into this story, you look into the lore of the Anunnaki. It absolutely was a real place. It
okay.
was in what we would call the Bahamas, and it sat at a very low point in sea level at the time. Flourishing city, advanced technology, the ability to make objects, levitate, and that's how they built things, right? Like the pyramids, because those blocks are heavy, but if you know how to make it levitate, you can then move it and do different things, right? And during the Great Flood event, right, the water rose and they now are down below water, and that's where the lost city of Atlantis is, right? Um, but they killed them. They killed them all, right? And they had a whole society. And the Anunnaki decided they were done with them. They killed that whole entire society, and then they reestablished a new one, built upon the bones of the old one. Some of those bones still existed, like the Great Pyramids, like Stonehenge, right? Some of these things still were there from the previous civilization. Some say this is our third round, that if you can
Okay.
go back and you can find archaeological things that go back 50, 60 million year or 50 or 60 100 million years ago, like super old shit that was there shortly after that the Earth had formed and got it out into a crystallized form, right? Um, there's stuff in the Himalayas, and not the Himalayas, but in the mountains of Peru, where they find these stone structures that are super old. Some of the oldest structures that are pyramid-shaped structures that they have found there. There's pyramids in Antarctica that have been discovered, right? Like because Antarctica, based upon the pole shift, would have been actually a decent place. But after the pole
Yeah.
shift, weather patterns changed and it got covered with snow and ice, and it was what it was. So, like when you think of it like that way, and I think that's why I'm so pessimistic. They've hit the reset button a couple times on this experiment already. Like, we them giant niggas, they too aggressive. They don't act right. So we gonna kill all these giants off, and we gonna start over again.
That's fair. All right, that's a fair point.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm coming or going. I read it and I always get very like self conscious on like, okay, how much of this can you even take in? This would make a great movie,
Yeah.
right? I don't know how much I really believe in any of it or all of it or parts of it. It could be a lot of good kawiki dinks, all pieced together over years, and that's where we've gotten to.
Okay. Well, I'd say that's a good wrap on this. Nobody asked for the story,
Not
but
at all.
you gave it to them, so thank you for that.
And no one asked for the Chiefs to be the Super Bowl champions either.
Repeat, baby. Okay. Well, Rod, thanks for talking to me about this stuff and debates and talking about the Raiders and how we want to and sharing your dog recipes.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't done the
everyone
15-hour
watching,
smoke though. I'm gonna have to give that a try.
yeah, 10 to 15, depending on the weight.
Okay.
You want you can overcook a dog.
Do you what kind of marinade are you putting on there? Just a brine, just a simple
Uh,
brine.
yeah, if you want a brine's number one. But if you want to do a marinade, I haven't tried. So because you're the marinade guy, I haven't tried the orange marinade that
Mm-hmm.
you're saying. I tend to believe it's pretty good. If you can put together like a General So's like cat for me when I
Yeah.
come in town, that'd be
Yeah.
great. But generally speaking, I'm just worried about getting a good smoke ring on them and keeping it nice and tender.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. A lot of times I'm on my Texas stuff. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
simple salt, pepper rub. Let the smoke and the
hmm
natural flavor of the meat do the rest. You know what I mean? Like,
spray it down every
yeah,
now and then, a little
yeah,
water and
yeah. A
vinegar.
little water, a little vinegar. No
No
frills.
frills.
Wrap it around. 185.
Right.
Bring it up to around that 203. Let it sit. Let the juices redistribute back through it. I'm gonna tell you that leg
Tell you
pull
what,
right off the hip, man. Right off the
off
hip.
the bone, off the
Oh,
bone.
mm. And when you rub the ribs, like the meat
Just
just
slides off.
nothing better than that. I got a good shepherd tail soup. Yeah,
Okay, okay. I'll be
yeah.
right.
With it's real,
Yeah.
it got a Caribbean feel to it.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Caribbean jerk.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
absolutely. You gotta have a thick tail though. You can't get them thin ones, right? A lot of gristle on those, but you can get the nice thick ones.
I feel like that goes without saying, but
I'm fond of the German shepherds personally, but anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, no argument here. I like. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer with dog meat.
Now
Out
I'm
there.
not too the cat. Sometimes I don't.
Real
When it's
tricky.
not fried, it's something about it. I don't. The texture's not right to me. I don't know what to say.
It's stringy. Not
Yeah,
gonna lie, but it's
and it's gamey.
yeah, yeah. You get some of those alley cats, and they can be
Yeah,
real
real
gamey.
gamey.
But
Especially,
I get mine farm raised, free
yeah, you
range.
gotta get that scent gland out of them too before you cook it.
Yeah, that's a must.
Yeah.
That's a must.
Anyway, that's ridiculous enough. I'm pretty sure we're going to get some type of cease and desist order I can't wait to read the comments from anybody who is affiliated with PETA or any of those
Right.
things. Give me your best because I want to hear the hate on this one. Salt and pepper dog. I'm trying to tell you.
Let's
Cane
go.
Corso.
All
Cane Corso. That's that best cut. That's that Wagyu with dogs. I'm trying to tell you that Cane Corso.
right there.
Yeah,
A5
yeah.
right there. All right. So like and subscribe. Check our merch store. See you guys
Peace.
later.